What's happening, YouTube? This is your girl, Megan. Welcome back to the Hood Astro Queen, to all of my returning subscribers. However, if this is your first time joining me on today, be sure to hit that subscribe button because you know you want to. Now, next up, we have Miss NeNe Neandra Leaks. I don't even know if that lady middle name is Neandra, but fuck it. It just sounds right. It sounds like that goes. But yeah, we're gonna do NeNe. She is definitely a fan favorite. I don't know about as of lately. She's been in the hot seat because her antics are just a little bit too ridiculous. But NeNe has definitely, hands down, made the show. She's been the sort of, I'm not gonna say matriarch, but she has been the person that everybody pretty much tunes in to Real Housewives of Atlanta to see. When you think of Real Housewives of Atlanta, you think of NeNe Leakes. I think she's discovered this from a very, very early point in the game, and it's gone to her head. But there were some pretty interesting things that I peeped in her chart that I feel like would be worth reviewing with you guys. So let's go ahead and get started. So Miss NeNe Leakes was born on December 13th, 1967. She is a fellow Sag, which is why I gave her the benefit of a doubt, or the doubt, for a very long time. But no more, y'all. I'm over Neandra. Now, she was born in New York. And yeah, it makes her a Sag Sun, Taurus Moon. So let me pull up my notes here. So basically, NeNe being a Sag, like, she does exude a lot of those Sagittarian traits. Her being rather idealistic, outgoing, optimistic, but also very much an animated character, especially with her sun. I think it's conjoined to her. Her sun conjoined to her Mercury. It's super bubbly, and it makes for a very witty person, a very outgoing person, somebody who is so over the top, and that is so NeNe. She's always making faces, she's always doing this and that, and like, that's part of her appeal. That's a part of why people found her very, very entertaining. People tune in to see, like, what kind of extraness is NeNe gonna bring to the table on today's episode. So she definitely exudes those Sagittarian traits. Her Taurus moon makes her very materialistic, and I feel like she's very plugged into that. Sagittarius as well, because Sag can deal with just excess, right? And overabundance of certain things, just doing too much. But that also leads back to her being just an over-the-top person. Just, she's too much. But yeah, Taurus moon, I could definitely see her playing that out or playing that up. Somebody who's very much concerned with material security. A lot of the things that are just associated with that Taurus energy. And it can also make her kind of shallow, like a very shallow and pretentious person on the inside, especially as it pertains to other women. Especially with her moon squaring her Mars. This just points towards a theme, a very prevalent theme that I see in her chart, of her not being able to get along with other women, which is obvious. Like, and it makes for good TV, but as far as just a person, yo, like, this lady is fucked up. It squaring her Aquarius Mars can point towards her just being a fake and phony friend, very shallow, very materialistic, and even competitive, somebody who is looking to compete with other women, which, once again, we see that. We've seen that on the show. And if you say you haven't, you a lie. And the theme of competition is heightened with her Mars being at the 9th degree of Aquarius. That number 9 is ruled by Aries, and it deals with competitiveness. It deals with warfare, her always being in conflict. You know, her Venus is at the what degree? At the 7th degree of Scorpio, which deals with her getting a lot of unearned income. She was married to Greg for a very long time. A lot of people call her a gold digger. And just from personal observation, I've noticed Scorpio Venus is one of the major hallmarks of a gold digger. period. Like, it just, I mean, of course, it's not the only one, but I do tend to see that quite often in women who, like I said, rack up on child support or who receive money from their spouse. And that's due to Scorpio dealing with other people's money, other people's shit. And unless it's like negatively aspected, it can typically deal with somebody who, as I stated, receives unearned income, money that they ain't even have to work for. And the number 7 is governed by Neptune, which can make one a rather like princess or spoiled princess. It can make for a person who's even supported financially by a partner, a romantic partner. Period. This also deals with her, like I said, making money through her spouse, which, I mean, before she was the NeNe Leakes of Real Housewives of Atlanta, she literally was Greg's wife. I don't know what Greg did, but, you know, he brought home the bacon at a certain point. It can also make somebody who is quite jealous, especially when it comes to other women, possessive, vindictive, and even rather promiscuous, which is interesting because she does a lot of slut shaming on the show. But we all know what NeNe is working with. Honey is a freak, even if it's on the low. But that's still very much Scorpio energy. They like to keep things on the down low, you know, done in private. And this could deal with NeNe wanting to align herself with other wealthy and prominent people, wealthy and prominent women. Her Venus is squaring her Aquarius Mars, which reinforces her being like, well, number one, not getting along with women. So it makes her very catty, very just like too much, which you can obviously see on the show. But let's get into her Mars and Aquarius. So Aquarius Mars people typically benefit from their friends. There's going to be a lot of karmic themes that come along, and they're going to surround friendship. These people can make hella friends, and as a byproduct of that, can be put in certain positions. And I do believe NeNe said she was even referred to the Real Housewives of Atlanta by a friend. Like, that's why she even made it on the show in the first place. So these people can receive lots of blessings by way of friends, but they can also lose friends just as quickly as they make them. Like, and that's that element of Aquarius being co-ruled by Uranus. Sudden upheavals, sudden situations. And then it's also this sense of like, Aquarius Mars people don't really know who the fuck they are outside of their friendships. That's another theme that's very like prevalent here. But with her Venus squaring her Mars, I mean, this just reinforces her having lots of power struggles in her friendship groups. Like her, and the Aquarius Mars, by the way, does want to be the boss of whatever friendship networks they have, which is definitely NeNe. She's always falling out with somebody. It's almost like she's not happy unless you're kissing her ass. NeNe wants to feel like she's in charge of the social group. She wants to feel like she's the queen bee, the mother hen. All of that is her Scorpio Venus squaring her Mars. It could also deal with her being extremely disloyal, fake, and her looking at people as objects, like objectifying people. Her being rather relentless and opportunistic in her view of people, especially with women and friendships. So there's that. Her sun is squaring her Pluto, which is at the 22nd degree of Virgo, which deals with her using Greg as a servant, is what I'm going to say, especially with that 22nd degree, because it deals with situations where you're either being like the ring master, like you're controlling someone else, or they're controlling you. And just from the dynamics of the show, it does seem more like Greg is her bitch, especially now that she stepped into her role as like, you know, the money maker, the NeNe Leakes, you know what I'm saying? It deals with her wearing the pants in a relationship. And Sagittarius women are already alpha type women in and of themselves. Her sun is also squaring her Chiron at the 25th degree of Pisces, which deals with NeNe being delusional. Okay, and it gives her an inability to take accountability for herself, which is another theme we see all throughout the show. It's very apparent. She feels like she should be the exception to the rule in that respect. It deals with her being a professional victim. And it can also point towards the illness of a husband. and karmic issues with children. So her children going to jail. I think her oldest son Bryce went to jail, and it could deal with theft. And now that I think about it, he went to jail from stealing from Walmart or something like that. That is so Piscean. Like, so yeah, that can point towards that. Also, her sun squaring her Chiron can deal with her having a father whom was either absent or incarcerated at some point, maybe even having a father who was on drugs or abused some sort of substance himself. I know there was a huge thing on the show where she was trying to figure out who her father was because her mom had passed on and she never knew like who the guy was. So there were several guys that came on the show that she would actually get tested and like do a DNA test with. And I don't think she's found her biological father. Don't quote me there, but yeah, that could absolutely deal with that. It could deal with, you know, the victimization of a child. And it also just points towards NeNe being a willful, spoiled princess who feels like exceptions should be made for her behavior. And it could also point towards there being some issues with alcohol and substances. I don't know if NeNe's alcoholic. I don't know if I don't know. She likes her cocktails. I don't know. But this could definitely produce that. Her Pluto and Uranus, which her Pluto is, like I said, the 22nd degree of Virgo, is conjoined to her Uranus at the 28th degree of Virgo, opposing her Chiron, which reinforces this theme of her having issues with her friends, her being a tyrant amongst her friends, her being super controlling, even feeling entitled. Her moon is opposing her Venus, which I'm wondering if it could deal with like her having mommy issues, which, I mean, you know, would be fitting because her mom did pass on. But also, I know it does deal with her going through issues with plastic surgery, all right? Because everybody knows NeNe's current face of 2019 is nothing like her face from 2012 or 2011, 2010. That Venus in Scorpio does deal with surgery, cosmetic surgery at that, because Scorpio deals with incisions, procedures, you know, operations, and then Venus is that beauty component of it. So, and negative aspects to her moon, it could point towards her having a wounded sense of self-value, and her even using these surgeries or going overboard with the surgeries, using them to either cover up or overcompensate for her wounded sense of self-value, or even taking it back to that aspect of her competing with other women, her feeling like she has to do this in order to kind of, you know, keep herself up in a sense. And with her Venus at the 7th degree, I'm wondering if she even has body dysmorphia, because it can produce somebody who has like a rather unrealistic perception of beauty and very like fantasy like. So that's always a thought. But moon in opposition to Venus does produce somebody who is like has issues with other women. So that's another kind of reinforcement of that theme here. Like, NeNe just does not get along with women, and a lot of it is based out of sheer insecurity. Her Mercury is squaring her Jupiter, which is in Virgo. It makes her very hypercritical of others, judgmental and narrow-minded. Her Saturn is at the 5th degree of Aries, which deals with NeNe being very combative in the workplace, which once again makes for good TV, but off camera, girl, it makes you a very just worrisome individual to be around. Her Venus is in quincunx to Saturn, which reinforces that theme once again, especially amongst women, infighting amongst women, as it makes it difficult to form very long-term relationships or harmonious long-term relationships with women. And even in her relationships, it makes her rather selfish. That Saturn in Aries is super selfish and egocentric. And it makes me think of, like, even with Greg, the man had fucking cancer, and she's on TV talking about how hard it is for her and getting everybody to rally up against her or rally in support of her and try to be on her side. Like, my nigga, your man could drop dead from cancer, sis. And so why are we feeling sorry for you? This aspect also makes it hard for her to get along with others due to a sense of just self-centeredness, or like I said, this selfishness, this me first attitude, this egocentric standpoint where it's like everything is literally all about me. Once again, she exudes this on the show all the fucking time. Like, if she is not the nucleus of her friendships, it's a problem. This aspect can even point towards her being very defensive, which she is. Like I said, she never owns up to anything. And anytime somebody says anything that could even be interpreted as a slight, the smallest slight against her, she's on defense. So she's naturally just not a good friend. NeNe's just, and this is not my opinion. It's just looking at the aspects in her chart. It's kind of, I'm not going to say it's not her fault, because we all have the responsibility of improving ourselves, no matter how fucked up our natal charts are. But she's just not naturally predisposed to being like a good friend. You know what I mean? She's just not. Her Jupiter is forming a quincunx to her Saturn, which reinforces this theme of her selfishness, not allowing her to be of service to others, because Jupiter in Virgo is all about servicing other people, even as it pertains to nursing people to help, like quite literally, which makes me think of the Greg thing as well. Him having cancer, him having all of these needs, her having to take care of him, but not really being able to do that fully, because at the end of the day, she's very focused on herself. And a lot of it, especially with Saturn and Aries, is a sense of overcompensation. And it stems from like daddy issues and a sense of feeling like you're less than yourself, So lots of projection going on, which is not surprising at all. So yeah, let me take a look at her lunar nodal placements. NeNe is a Aries North Node, Libra South Node. So, yeah. I mean, honestly, she has a karmic responsibility to be independent and stand on her own feet. But I feel like it's like a double-edged sword, because she was born as a person who naturally needed to be in the thick of things, somebody who needed to keep up the Joneses, somebody who who depends on social networks and social friendships to shine. But in this lifetime, she's supposed to be independent and like the person who stands in her own authoritativeness, which, I mean, can bring about a lot of that dark-sided Aries behavior. Her being combative, overly combative. So in a way, it's slick like her birthright to be this way, as far as like her just being super defensive, somebody who's like stands alone and walks firm in their decision to be their individual self and whatever, or even for her to be individualistic and selfish to a degree. Like, it's slick her birthright. Slick. I would just hope that she could channel the more lighter side of that Aries energy, because selfish does not have to be bad. It doesn't have to be bad, but clearly sis is just out of control. She's out of fucking control. So y'all drop down in the comment section, let me know what y'all thought about this reading, as well as who you would like for me to cover next. And as always, make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And until the next video, I holla.